Hello, Realtors. Welcome to the SCR Update, your go-to source for what's happening in the world of real estate and how it impacts you and your business. This is episode 387. Today is March 23rd, 2026. And as always, I am your real estate influencer and host, Nick Kremydas, CEO of South Carolina Realtor. So grab your coffee and let's jump straight into what you need to know for this week. So here's the breakdown of the current landscape regarding private listings versus public exposure. Lots of talk in the industry over the last few weeks, lots of discussion, lots of lawsuits being dropped, and a lot of pundits in the real estate space debating open market versus private listings. The industry is currently in a tug of war between these two philosophies. And the cooperative model is the traditional MLS approach. The idea that putting a home in a central bucket, every agent sees it. Every buyer has a chance, and the seller gets the highest possible price through maximum competition. Now, the private exclusive model, this is when a brokerage keeps a listing in-house for a period of time. Proponents say it offers sellers privacy. Critics say it creates silos. It creates gatekeeping, where a limited pool of buyers even know that the house is for sale. So the pre-market shift that we are currently now seeing, this is a massive move towards standardized coming soon listing tools. And instead of these listings being discussed only in private Facebook groups or around office water coolers, they're moving onto high traffic public websites. The direct to listing agent leads is the primary benefit of this change. And that's the biggest change that we're talking about with these pre-market public platforms, that it allows the lead to go straight to the listing agent. I know something that the industry and brokerages have long wanted and fought for. So the motivation for this is that this encourages agents to share their off-market, their pocket listings, and share this data publicly, because they don't have to worry about losing the lead to a buyer agent who paid an ad for a particular zip code or the like. Now, there's been a legal truce. I mentioned lawsuits being dropped. There's been a significant cooling off period regarding the lawsuit between the major tech-based real estate firms. And the reason this matters is that when the big players stop suing each other over patents and trade secrets, then we're going to start seeing more collaboration on the data. And we are going to see a move, I believe, toward data liquidity, where information flows more freely between these different platforms rather than being locked behind proprietary walled gardens. Now, remember, there's always a pro-business and ethical angle to all of these stories. Many national brokerages are now publicly stating that maximum exposure is the most ethical way to sell a home, because it ensures a level playing field for every buyer, regardless of who their agent is or what firm they work for. This is intended to address, I believe, the standards between these new philosophies, and it's a pretty stark comparison between what I would call the old way and the new way. So in the old way of pocket listings, basically keeping these listings in desk drawers or private emails, the new way, this public pre-marketing displayed on portals with coming soon tags, the old way of lead routing, sold these leads to the highest bidder, so to speak, for all intents and purposes, while the new way, the leads are going to the agent that actually has the property listed, direct routing to the listing agent. And instead of siloing data and having private apps and private silos for these listing information, these firms are now sharing off-market data to get the most eyes and the most exposure to these properties. Where will this leave the MLS at the end of the day? Does this supplant the MLS? Does it give the MLS? When I say MLS, this is kind of a generic term for kind of the whole MLS industry. But I believe that this gives the MLS an opportunity to innovate and to serve our members and to address the emerging business models and business strategies that continue to evolve. Remember, realtors, my advice to you is don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, what works in a seller's market may not work in a buyer's market. And have the flexibility in your office policies and your business plans to address the various market changes that are inevitable in our profession. So, Mike, for those of you that don't know Mike, Mike is our technical director behind all of our podcasts. And Mike, thanks for helping me out today. He also has one of our newest members of our staff, Tyler Tipton, here in the studio today. Tyler, thank you for your work and assistance. So let's move on to part 2 of the update today. And let's talk about FinCEN again. And I know y'all are probably tired of hearing me talk about FinCEN, as I am tired of telling you about it. Now, FinCEN is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Remember how we've been warning you over the last couple of months that the new rule was going to affect how you handle cash deals and entity buyers going forward past March 1st. You remember that I told you we've updated our contracts and even created a new addendum to warn clients about the new disclosure requirements. Well, we have an update for you, and I think I can sum it up in one word. What was the old who was the lady on Saturday Night Live? Rosanna, Dana, whatever. And she would go off on this topic and then realize she had misunderstood something, and then she would say, when she was corrected, she would say, "Oh, never mind." That's kind of where we are. These guys have no idea what I'm talking about. This is an old Saturday Night Live reference. God, why can't I think of her name? She was married to Danny DeVito.
Rita Perlman?
Was it Rita Perlman?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. But well, anyway, we digress. So we got some breaking news. A court in Texas struck down the new rule last week, and this was posted on the FinCEN website. It's a little blurb. If you go to it, you'll see it. It says, quote, "In light of a federal court decision, reporting persons are not currently required to file real estate reports with FinCEN and are not subject to liability if they fail to do so while the order remains in force." So, realtors, as of today, neither the DOJ nor the U.S. Treasury Department has indicated whether there is a plan to appeal the ruling. Now, DOJ may also seek a stay of the decision if they choose to appeal, which could reinstate compliance until an appellate court rules on this. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor the developments closely. We'll update you as the legal process unfolds. We are not making any changes to our forms and contracts because this could go right back, and there's no harm in warning clients of a potential rule that may impact their closing. The closing attorney will determine at the time of that closing whether the rule's in effect or not, and whether any additional data will need to be collected. So stay tuned. All right, part 3 today. Some new condo insurance rules. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have announced several significant updates to their condo underwriting guidelines. Now, over the last few years, y'all know how expensive it's been to build new condos and to insure them. The changes affect both project review standards and insurance requirements for condo projects and individual units. Following the Surfside condominium collapse in Florida in June of 2021, Fannie and Freddie, the GSEs, have substantially tightened condo underwriting standards. This includes their reserve requirements, additional financial reviews, more engineering studies, and additional insurance coverage and documentation. While these were all intended to address safety and underfunding concerns, those changes also constrained financing, meaning costs went up for most condo projects. So the new updates generally ease some of these requirements for smaller projects, addressing affordability, while raising financial and insurance expectations for larger or more complex developments. Overall, the changes improve financing flexibility for small projects, but will likely increase documentation compliance for the larger projects. NAR's got a full post with more details on their website. Mike, if we could find that link and add it in the comments. Now, the other part of this is the insurance requirement changes. The GSEs also updated their association insurance requirements to address rising premiums and insurance availability challenges. So what this means for you, our Realtor members, is that small condo projects may see streamlined reviews and improved financing access. These larger projects, as I've mentioned, are going to face higher reserve, higher documentation expectations, which may increase HOA fees or lead to additional special assessments. However, the greater insurance flexibility is intended to help address premium pressures, particularly for roofs and deductibles, but may also shift some of this financial risk to unit owners, which, as I mentioned, could result in special assessments when insurance claims aren't enough, when insurance claim payments aren't enough to fully cover losses. Lenders are going to rely more heavily on HOA-provided documentation, which will increase the importance of accurate budgets, reserve studies, and insurance disclosures during condo transactions. So, Mike, I think it's time for Don't Do That. Thanks, Mike, and welcome, Realtors, to Don't Do That, where we highlight the common mistakes, ethical slip-ups, and risky business practices that you need to avoid. From compliance headaches, I think I just spit there a little bit. Sorry, everybody. From compliance headaches to client horror stories, we're here to help keep you out of hot water. So let's dive right in. Today we're going to focus on realtor safety. So we've got the spring market coming. There's always a lot of high pressure to perform. Interest rates are in flux. Inventory is rising. And it's easy for realtors to let their guard down in order to get a deal done. Now, we all want you to get to that closing table to earn your commission, but no closing is worth your life. We're seeing a surge in activity this month, which means more stranger danger than usual. Now, here are 3 things you absolutely should not do. Number 1, don't meet a new lead at a vacant property alone. You know, a lead calls you off a sign or off a website. They want to see a vacant house right now before it's gone. Don't head straight to that vacant house alone without a safety plan, without a paper trail. You know, require a photo of their ID be sent to you by text, or better yet, meet them at your office or a local coffee shop where there will be others around. If they are a legitimate buyer, they won't mind the few minutes of a detour for your personal safety. And don't walk into small spaces first. You're showing a beautiful large room in a house that might have a small utility room or closet. Don't walk into that closet or basement ahead of the client. Always stay by the door. Use the after you technique. Gesture toward the room. Stay in the hallway or near the exit. You never want to be backed into a corner where someone is between you and the only way out of the home. And certainly don't publicize that you're home alone. You know, you don't post on social media that you're doing a live tour or some reel to drum up excitement for an open house. You know, certainly don't say, hey, I'm here all by myself until 4 p.m. Come by and see me. You know, use the we phrase. You always say, we are excited to show you this home. Even if it is you alone, don't advertise the fact that you're alone. And better yet, post your quote unquote live videos after you've left the property. Don't broadcast your exact location in real time to the entire internet. Now, the question here isn't, safety isn't about being paranoid. It's about being professional. Too often we hear too many situations where realtors are attacked in an open house during a showing. If y'all caught the news this week, Mike, there was a story, I think it was out of the Midwest, where a realtor, a cold case, a realtor who was murdered 11 years ago, I believe, they finally found the person responsible for that tragedy. This happens more often than we would like to admit. So every time you bypass a safety protocol to save time, you're telling a stranger that you're not really in control of the situation. Predators look for people who are distracted and who are alone. And by having a process like an ID check or a buddy system text, you send the message that you're a professional with a team behind you. Now, realtors, you've got some tools in your tool belt to help you with your safety. Remember to use your member service, the Forewarn app, which lets you do a quick background check just using someone's phone number. And I know that at least one of the lockbox systems have an agent safety feature that'll send an alert to your emergency contact if you don't check out of a showing within a certain amount of time. So realtors, be safe out there, have a safety plan in place, and don't put yourself in sketchy situations. Thank you, realtors. Usually September is where we really highlight and focus on realtor safety. September is always Realtor Safety Month. But this recent news story just brought it home to me as a reminder that realtor safety needs to be part of our everyday thinking, everyday planning. So I think this is our last segment here for today, Mike. I know we've got a lot of news today, but the Real Estate Commission, I'm calling this one, this segment, Mike, CYA, Cover Your Assets. The South Carolina Real Estate Commission issued a new guidance letter this week that addresses the handling of trust funds when they're held by an outside party, like an attorney or other escrow agent other than the real estate licensee, a real estate agent, realtor, other than the brokerage. So here's the short skinny for you. Mike, if you could put the link to the guidance letter in the comments. South Carolina law requires and says licensees are responsible for ensuring that trust funds are timely and properly delivered to the trust fund agent as specified in the contract. Now, the Real Estate Commission has seen several recent cases where licensees fail to verify that these funds actually reached the outside agent. The Commission strongly recommends getting written confirmation from the escrow agent once they receive the funds. Now, this can be a simple email, letter, or even a text message. But simply saying funds received is not enough. The confirmation that you get from the closing attorney in most cases should identify the parties, identify the property address, the date received, and the exact amounts so that it can be tied to the specific transaction. While not technically one of the documents you're required to keep as part of your legal brokerage requirements, the things that you've got to keep for 5 years, the Commission suggests keeping this written proof as a contemporaneous record to prove you've complied with the law just in case a dispute arises. Remember, if the buyer's earnest money never hits the attorney's desk and the deal falls apart, the agent could be on the hook unless they have this written receipt to prove that they followed up. So, Mike, let's wrap up this update for today. Realtors, thank you again for tuning in. Stay safe, as always. Stay realtor strong, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you, everyone.